Hello everyone, I am so incredibly excited to be finally giving you this video today. Today is officially my 1 year on testosterone video. Oh my god, first off, quick explanation. I'm so sorry that I did not post updates for months 10 and 11. I actually recorded those videos, but I was so busy and stressed out and dealing with stuff that they just sat in my phone until all of a sudden I'd be like, wait a second, month 10. I was like, wait, it's almost month 11. I'll just scrap it and make a month 11 update. And then I did the same thing with month 11, and all of a sudden I was like, shit, it's nearly a year. Might as well just wait, especially because I had some stuff going on that I was worried about the past 2 months that had to do with testosterone and my blood work and things that has since been resolved and was not resolved when I made my month 11 update. And I'm glad that I can finally just come back with some good news and a little disclaimer and a bit of a warning for you guys if you are going to go on testosterone, and particularly if you get into weightlifting and weightlifting supplements and things you need to talk to your doctor about so that you don't waste each other's time. So, yeah, quick explanation for that. Second little housekeeping thing is that I just recently got my lip pierced. I got my snake bites done. They're still healing. I've got these super long bars in my mouth right now. It's all wonky. It's struggling. I'm only just now starting to feel better because it was actually a week today that I got them done. But yes, my lip is still swollen, so I am in my training cycle. I'm deloading right now, so I'm not training super hard this week, so my water has kind of flushed down. I'm not holding as much stress, so the pictures of my face and my body are more accurate when it comes to that, but my lip might look a little bit different because it is swelling, but it already seems to have gone down quite a bit, so this is a pretty accurate comparison. There's going to be a lot of comparison photos since it has been a year. I'm probably just going to do an intro of a bunch of before and afters and maybe include some more photos of examples. But yeah, December 12th last year was my first shot, and I never thought I'd get here. So I guess I'll get the important thing out of the way first when it comes to the sort of disclaimer and something that I want to tell you about so that you don't have to go through what I went through and potentially waste time or potentially even money figuring this out. I'm very surprised that I went through this with my clinic because there's no way in hell I'm going to be the last one if I was the first one to be in this situation. But whenever they are taking your blood levels every 3 months to make sure that everything's good so that you can continue taking your hormones, they test creatinine for your kidney function. Creatinine is not the best way to test your kidney function because there are multiple things that can cause noise in that test, particularly if you get into fitness, regardless of whether you're transmasc or transfeminine. I feel like this is definitely going to be a more common issue for trans guys, though, because there's two big factors as far as what can cause falsely elevated creatinine, or they are actually elevated, but it's not because your kidney function is low. It's because of other things going on in your body that are totally fine as long as you're healthy. And that is, one, if you start taking creatine supplements. Creatine, creatinine. They're not the same thing. If you take creatine, you will have elevated levels in creatinine, though, and it doesn't. I believe creatine metabolizes into creatinine. I've been explained these things, but I'm not a doctor. Point being, your creatinine levels that they're testing for can look falsely high as though your kidneys were not functioning well if you start taking creatine. On top of that, muscle turnover also causes elevated creatinine levels, which I knew because I've actually gotten really into bodybuilding YouTube, and I knew that there are certain lifestyle factors, including supplements and training really hard, like I have been, that can cause your blood work to come back looking wonky. So I made a point that whenever they were like, we want you to go see a specialist, we're worried about your kidneys, blah, 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 I was like, hey, just so you know, I started taking creatine, and I've been working out pretty hard. So... But I did not say this face to face. I said it through our chart. Save yourself some time. If you decide you're going to get into weightlifting, please talk to your doctors about it, especially if you decide to take creatine as well. So basically, I was scheduled a specialist appointment with a kidney person to figure out what was going on with my kidneys, which was scary. I was watching my protein, salt intake. I stopped eating spinach almost at all because I was worried. I stopped almost completely drinking at all. I was drinking hella water all the time. Especially the biggest issue was just like trying to eat enough protein to support my training, but making sure it wasn't too high protein just in case, because you cannot eat high protein if you have chronic kidney disease. So I was like really struggling with like this dietary stress stuff, and of course just being worried about like, what if I'm taken off of testosterone? What if I lose it when I'm feeling so good? I finally feel like I'm seeing results. Long story short, very quickly when I explained my situation at the kidney specialist, which it took me 2 months to get into, very quickly they were like, oh, yeah, you probably don't need to be here at all. It's probably literally just the creatine. And they also mentioned that sometimes when people go on testosterone, regardless of whether it's a cis man or not, they might have elevated creatinine levels just from the muscle they're building from the testosterone just causing muscle, tissue growth. Even if you aren't also adding weight training, resistance training of some sort to spur that growth, sometimes these levels still show up anyways. So I had all these things working against me to give me these like falsely high creatinine levels that freaked out my doctor, and luckily I have good health insurance, which is one of the only reasons I am still tolerating my retail job. I did not have to pay. But I don't want someone who can barely afford these things and barely afford your transition at all to be put into a situation where you decided, especially if you've been watching my journey, you want to start weightlifting and stuff. Make sure your doctors know, because what they did is I had to go get my cystatin C levels tested instead. And cystatin C will give a true reading of your kidney function outside of the noise that creatine and weightlifting, for example, can cause in your test results. And I got my results back like a week ago, I believe. And pretty much they were very quickly like, we're pretty sure you're completely fine. They asked me about certain symptoms and stuff, and they were like, you're really young, you're really healthy. I'm extremely lucky. I still have great blood pressure and everything. Even though I'm on testosterone, my hemoglobin's a little bit high, but not bad at all. Pretty standard for being on T. Everything's looking amazing. I've been taking really good care of myself, so they were like, oh, yeah, we're pretty sure we can just shake your hand and send you on your way as soon as we get the results back. Go ahead and schedule a follow-up appointment just in case, but you can cancel it as soon as you get your normal results back because you're probably fine. So, I got a notification in my chart. I read it myself, and of course I waited until I heard back from the doctor specifically to cancel my appointment. But even when I saw the results, it was like there was these 2 yellow bars of like abnormal range, and then there's like the green in the middle of the cystatin C levels, and I was smack dab in the middle. So it'll be interesting to touch base with my doctors when I see them next, and hopefully they can learn from me, the person who had health insurance and could handle. I'd apparently already met my deductible as well, so I didn't have to pay even a copay to find out that my kidneys are indeed okay. So I've been enjoying eating some extra protein and eating sauteed spinach and stuff like that, and not worrying as much because I had like no dietary restrictions before. So it's been really nice to just relax, and also definitely to eat extra protein to support my training. So because of that kind of slowed down my weight training a lot. I am still the same weight range that I have been for a while. Content warning, I am going to mention weight numbers just for reference, in case you're curious, especially because I know I was really obsessed with this kind of thing as someone who struggled with an eating disorder and was nervous about going on T and stuff like that. One, I just want to say, I remember I was so scared of my face getting big and bulky. My face is a lot bigger. You're going to see it in the comparison photos. I love it. I love it so much. I've fallen in love with it. God, especially the past couple of months, I just have really been coming into it, and I felt great about it. But, so I started off, I think when I started T, I had lost a little bit of weight, and I was around 115 to 120. That's where I was kind of staying my range. And I had worked up to being like 126-ish before I lost some weight, and I just got broke. I just couldn't afford to eat as much. I'm 5'5" for reference. Because of my eating disorder history, my psychiatrist prefers me to be between like 125 and 135 at least. So I had dropped a little bit of weight, didn't really mean to, didn't even like how I looked. and I started bulking once I went on T and stuff like that, and I got up to about 130, 135, and that's where I have stayed. I have really struggled to maintain being over 130. I keep dropping below to like 129. It takes effort for me to bulk up, and especially being worried about like dietary restrictions and stuff, it kind of slowed my progress down. And also, like, even just hanging out consistently around the 130s is still an emotional adjustment for me. Um, and I also was kind of in a place where, because of a few different reasons, I couldn't really afford to like buy clothes if I bulked up too fast. So it was also kind of a practicality thing of like, it also makes sense for my wallet for me to kind of like not spend quite as much money on food portions, and also to not have to buy new clothes yet. So I've just been kind of hanging out in this area, but now that I'm clear and good to go and I'm making decent money again, I just paid off all of my medical and dental debt. I'm all set to go. I may do a bulk soon. I feel like, honestly, sometimes if you've struggled with, like, especially a restrictive eating disorder, like I just had anorexia nervosa, sometimes bulking is just, like, psychologically, even if you only do it for a few weeks, like, it just, like, puts that challenge on you, and it challenges all of your notions, and it really can prove to you that extra food is just extra energy, and that you, especially as someone who leans towards that end of the eating disorder spectrum, you know intuitively what to do with that extra food. And like, weight gain isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a really good thing. So I might do a bulk soon, but because of that, my physique hasn't changed too crazy over the past couple months. I feel like I still look pretty similar to before, but at the same time, I don't know. There's some pictures I take where I'm like, I'm approaching Dorito territory. So let's do a little tour of the body. My facial hair is similar to what it was before. Yeah, it's slowly filling out a little bit, but it's not really gotten any longer or thicker, sadly. Body-wise, yeah, I feel like I'm still just kind of like, more of my body weight is like kind of being squeezed up out of my legs and up into my upper body, which I like. I'll insert some better photos of like what I looked like during my peak week this past training cycle and stuff like that. I've definitely gained some mass on my quads and thighs. I just did my injection in this one, so it's a little sore. But yeah, I have been getting some pretty 3D looking quads. Still have slight abs, but I am starting to hold a little bit more fat here, which is nice. I like it. Yeah, I do. Shockingly. The biggest thing, I think, is just how much space my shoulders take up now. I almost fill up a door frame. That's cool. But yes, yeah, the shoulders are probably the biggest thing, which I have been absolutely slamming my shoulders when it comes to exercising and stuff. So top down, everything has been, as far as like updates go, it's just the same, but more. Like, my facial hair is filled out just a little bit more. I have chest hair now. So cool. One of my friends even noticed in a photo I took that wasn't like super up close on my chest, and I was like, yeah, I got chest hair. They were like, oh my god. Like, it's so exciting. Body hair just everywhere, coming in everywhere, getting thicker, darker, still spreading from the areas that it's at to like other areas. Oh, I had a little bottom growth spurt again, and now it seems to kind of have stopped again. So I got a little bit more than what I had last time I talked to you, but it's not changing too crazy fast. I've got so much butt hair. I will say, since the last time I've talked to you, so much butt hair. The butt hair and the belly hair. Oh, there's a lot, and I love it. And then my face shape, I do feel like, has changed a little bit more. It's still kind of growing into its new shape. My acne has calmed down. I stopped using benzoyl peroxide. Someone that I worked with actually said that it only works for about 3 months at a time, and that it probably wasn't working anymore. So I stopped. I switched over to salicylic acid for now, because I've had good luck with that in the past as kind of just a standard. anti-acne regimen, and my skin has been doing a lot better. I am in retail hell right now. I just got my lips pierced during peak week of working out, which was a horrible idea. And I'm still not breaking out very bad. So that's awesome. My skin's feeling a lot better, a lot less inflamed and angry like it was. But I am starting to get hair thinning. Now, I have a ton of hair. I have extremely thick hair, a lot of hair, just a lot of individual strands, and a very low forehead. I have a very, very low forehead. I have a 3 head. But it does seem to just starting to recede. But the biggest thing is just the hair on the sides of my head. I can see so much more scalp than I ever could before, particularly when my hair is wet. And I will upload some sobering photos of that. And you're gonna probably see it and be like, what are you talking about? You have to understand that, like, my hair before all over my head was so dense that, like, any part on my head was just a thick solid line on either side. It was just a little tiny thin stripe and then just thick dense hair. If you like parted it anywhere, just thick dense hair on both sides. It's not like that on the sides of my head anymore. You can see quite a bit of scalp. So I might be bald eventually. That is the gamble you play, especially when you go on full dose testosterone, which is a consequence that I am perfectly happy to accept. So, the hair thinning has started. It's not something that I experience a lot of emotional distress about. It's funny because I did have a couple of like nightmares that all of a sudden all my hair fell out, and then I started to notice it thinning, and I have a little bit of anxiety about it. When I first noticed it, I felt some anxiety, and it's not that I want to lose a ton of hair, although I do want a more masculine hairline and a more masculine hair in general. I feel like just how dense and thick my hair is just kind of feminine in a way, particularly how low the hairline is. But even the density of my hair at this age, as a guy who just turned 27, it just isn't realistic. I wouldn't mind some level of thinning, but it's not necessarily something I want, because I think it's hard for anyone, especially if you've ever really liked your hair, which I do. You know, there's a reason I do so much to it. It's hard to not feel some sadness when you lose it. But I don't necessarily want to be bald. It's just like there's so many other things that I get from testosterone that I love, and I'm already someone who really loves cutting and styling wigs, that it's just like it's a fate that is worth it for me. So there's all that. So yeah, I am starting, and I've mostly been talking about that because I want other people to know, because that's something that a lot of people who are transmasculine are really worried about, and I'm not super worried about it. But if you wanted to know, I'm not just all growing biceps and shit. Like, it's not all just this. It's not all just the facial hair that just happened to be pretty symmetrical, luckily for me genetically. I'm also losing some hair. And that's the main negative side effect, honestly. That's pretty much it. Acne, obviously, I've broken out a lot, which has made me look younger. I'm so tired of people at my job being like, you can't give me any skincare advice because you're just so young. You don't have any skin problems. And I just stare at them like, why are you assuming my age? I don't appreciate it. At this point, I almost never get misgendered in person, which is so cool. Even really, really old people will gender me correctly. But on the phone, I get misgendered a lot still. And I still think it's because of the context of my job, because the other day, it was like a month ago, I think, I was playing Apex, and I grouped up with some random people, and a person used he, him pronouns for me, and then kind of stopped himself and used they. So I think even when people hear me digitally, it's not feminine enough that people are automatically assuming I'm a woman. I think it's because of where I work that I'm assumed to just have like a smoker's voice or something. So I do hope that it gets a little bit deeper from here. We'll see. A lot of times you can still continue to have voice deepening for a year or two, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm just super happy. I'm really feeling myself right now. I recently obviously added some more color to my hair so that it's more visible, so I'm feeling inspired aesthetically, and really excited about my new piercings, even though I got pretty horrible aftercare advice from the piercing shop I went to and had a really bad first 3 or 4 days, and I'm only just now feeling okay. And I have to live with these long bars for a while, but yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. My stress levels are way down, so hopefully I can make some more content soon. If there's anything specifically you'd like to see, let me know. So, finally, I just kind of want to go through like a timeline of how this year has felt, and I'll try to run through it kind of quick because we're already at 20 minutes. The first 3 months, it felt like I was never gonna get hair. I really did feel like I was never ever gonna get hair, and I had heard so many other people talk about how like you just gotta be patient, you're gonna get there, and I knew it, but it was so hard. There were so many days, and I talked to someone about this recently, where like I felt worse before I felt better. My dysphoria got so much worse before it got better. I had so many in the first 6 to 8 months, so many days of just looking in the mirror and then just crying and realizing I was not going to be able to look in the mirror without clothes for a couple days. And there were days where I felt worse about my body than I had since my eating disorder was like super, 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 super active. That was the only time I had felt that bad ever, when I was really deep in it. And that was hard. You know, it's hard to be like, I'm just going to have to rip off my clothes, jump in the shower, and try not to look. Just don't look. Just don't look. It sucks. Especially when you are paying money, doing extra things to try and, you know, you're on this journey that has a lot of social repercussions, and, you know, and I'm someone who felt very solid about all the side effects as well. There are so many people, especially non-binary people, who have some hang-ups about some of the potential changes and aren't sure how they're going to feel about it. Me, I only had hang-ups about the body weight and the facial changes. I wasn't sure if I could handle it, and for me, I was like, well, I can just go back off of it, because the weight redistribution stuff and the body fat displacement, it goes away if you stop taking it. So for me, it was a very safe decision, especially being someone who was independent and in a supportive workplace that's very pro LGBTQIA+. And it was still hard, and it was still scary, let alone putting on top of that the fact that I don't think enough people talk about the fact that you feel worse before you feel better. I felt a lot worse before I felt better. And I just had to fill my time with other things, and that's why I got so into fitness. Too into fitness. I think now about how like my wrists and my elbows and my joints used to feel at the end of every night, and I'm like, dude, I was overdoing it so bad, but it was something to do, and I do regret going so hard because it wasn't healthy, but it did build a strong base of discipline. It did build a habit of fitness that's very easy to stick to now, and I did eventually get strong enough to support the level of work that I was doing. But you don't need to go as hard as I did, and I wouldn't recommend it, because it's mostly just digging a hole in the ground. But my neighbors are crazy. Anyways, yeah, it really sucked, and a lot of that does have to do with the fact that, you know, at 6 months or whatever, they checked my levels and were like, oh, you're not even out of the cis female range yet. Oops. Let's give you a higher dose. And very quickly after that, the changes started happening a lot more rapidly, and, you know, it was actually the slow changes for me personally that were overwhelming. Once it really picked up, I actually felt better. I always thought that if I was a little nervous about doing full dose T, about like, what if it's too much at once, especially like the body fat displacement and stuff, and the way my face changes. No, once it picked up pace, I started feeling better and better and better, and just connecting with who I saw in the mirror. And yeah, it's funny because I think my changes have probably progressed a lot over the past couple months, because I've had a lot of comments about it, especially in real life, people who see me every day. But I'm so comfortable with myself now that I feel like I don't actually notice the changes as much. You know, the first like extra little hair that sprouts, you know, the first 3 extra hairs you have, you fucking know it. But at this point, it's like, yeah, I know things are probably still changing, but I'm changing inside too, and it's just like, I'm just so comfortable now. So, and then month 6 to 8 was still a little hard, still a little scary sometimes, but I started feeling better and better. 8 to 10 was just up and up and up, feeling better and better, figuring more shit about myself out. And then 10 to 12 has been awesome. It's just been like, all I've been thinking is like, dude, I can't wait to see what next year this time is going to be like. I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited, especially if I do get strong enough to let myself gain some more body weight and to bulk up a little bit more, because I do want to get bigger and take up some more space and build some more muscle. But it is hard because I naturally have a very, very small chest, especially when I'm thin. But I do get a little more chest tissue, as most people do, if my body fat creeps up, which I'm already struggling with even at this weight. Honestly, it feels like trans tape is not working as well, particularly with certain kinds of shirts and stuff. But even though all my debts and stuff are paid off and I do want top surgery eventually, yes, I do, I need to buy a car first. Which gives me even more time to work out and build great pectoral muscles for them to build off of. I've already got a pretty decent base going right now. Pretty happy with it. But I can build it even more. And spend even more time preparing emotionally for the thought of not working out for a very long time afterwards. And finding someone I feel safe to be a little bit dependent on for a couple weeks potentially is really intimidating. I've had some friends talk to me about it. I do have some options, but being very dependent on someone is very scary to me. So it's not even something financially that I have the potential to worry about anytime soon, because I don't plan on crowdfunding for it, because I feel like that space should be taken up by other people who need it more, personally. But yeah, it is something I want to do, but it's not going to be anything I can do anytime soon. So I'm just going to look into like different kinds of undershirts and stuff to kind of help, because it just feels like my shirts are just kind of sticking to it more, and you can just kind of see, and it's just too low. I don't have the best like breast tissue elasticity genetics to begin with. Like, all the women in my family have small chests that hang very low. A weird combination. And the older I get and the more I've used trans tape and stuff, it's definitely not in the pec placement, and it's quite obvious, and I feel like it's somewhat feminizing still, and I don't like it. But there are clothing choices that are cheaper and short-term things while I get my life sorted out and make triple, quadruple check that that's still something I need, because I would love to eventually be someone who doesn't need it. I do hope that eventually I can just fully embrace my chest, but genuinely, the more and more muscle that I've built and the more my body has masculinized, the more I look at my chest and I'm like, you don't belong. You're on limited time. But we'll see. We'll see when I can even fucking afford it and take the time off work for it. Or if I end up deciding that I'm cool without it. Once again, I would like for that to be the case, because that's a bunch of money and time off and pain that I wouldn't have to invest in. So I'm trying to convince myself to be cool with it, but I'm not feeling it. If you're wondering about anything else, I don't have any other plans. I think that metoidioplasty is really cool, but I don't think I need it. I just think it's cool. And if it was like magical and free and I could recover from it like that, I would do it. But no, not that money, not that recovery time, not those complications. I don't need it. I'm fine. I can't wait to see what the next few months bring. Things have just felt better and better. My confidence is through the roof. And I'm not talking about like even just like body confidence. I'm talking about like making tough life decisions and being an adult about things. And now granted, I turned 27 this year. I turned 27 in October, and you know, my brain finally is maturing, and I'm also going on testosterone at the same time. But testosterone can kind of boost your confidence and be kind of an anti-anxiety thing anyways. And on top of that, my brain kind of finished growing up. So like the combination of those things, I definitely feel like a different person than when I started T. And there was a moment there where I was really stressed out, and I was like, I'm not sure if I like who I am on T. But since my kidney blood work came back and stuff, I am back to being just a really chill guy who honestly doesn't really care too much about anything. Nothing's that deep. Not worried about it. I was just stressed out, and all the negativity and how negativity expresses itself in a more testosterone driven brain can be different. And I was definitely someone who thought that people overblew that from like misconceptions about steroids and stuff like that. And they do, but also hormones do affect your brain. And I changed when it came to how I saw the world and how I interacted with it and how I felt about the world more than I expected, honestly. I thought it was mostly all bullshit. It's only some bullshit. You will definitely feel a lot different. I definitely prefer who I am now. Even with my flaws, even with some of the flaws that it has actually uncovered and made more obvious, because if anything, it's helped me work on them more. So, but I'm feeling a lot better. I was just a little insecure for a second because I was really stressed out. I've been not giving myself enough credit for how stressed and how hard I've been working through that stress. Also, between like my fitness journey and my job and everything, like the fact that I've been doing all this alone, like, well, no wonder you were a little grumpy for a couple months. That's okay. So, feeling really good. I'm really excited. I already did my shot a second ago. I recorded it, but I don't think I can record that on YouTube. I think I can, actually, since it's educational. But I don't want to risk it. Yeah, still on injections. Don't plan on changing it. I don't have any problems with injections. I like them. I like the idea of doing something once a week instead of having to apply something every day. I don't have any issues with it at all. Sometimes I'm a little crabby on Sundays and Mondays, and I always just tell myself that however I feel about things on Sundays and Mondays is not accurate. I probably feel the same way, but don't care. You know, it's probably an opinion that I hold, but I actually don't really care that much. That's my kind of, that's kind of how I am on tea, honestly, is like, I don't really care. Like, yeah, whatever. Sure. It's fine. Okay. I've also been feeling some pretty strong straight feelings recently. I mostly date men, but oh my god, women have been on my mind a lot again, and people of all genders. But most of the time, I do date either men or women. Not all the time. I definitely dated some non-binary people as well, but the role that I play in my head in those relationships has changed to a more masculine role, and a more top role, and a more dominant role. So that's been an interesting change that's only happened in the past couple months. But other than that, I'm gonna go do a deload workout, and then order myself a little personal pizza from Pizza Hut to celebrate, because I couldn't decide what I wanted. I've been making a lot of protein pancakes at home that are amazing, so I didn't want to get IHOP, but I can't have anything spicy yet, because my lips are still not doing the best, so no spicy food for me yet, no beer for me yet. But this weekend, since my kidneys are all healthy, I'm going to go out and dance and have a few drinks, and I'm so excited. Maybe I'll bring you along. That sounds fun. Yeah. But here's to a year. Any, like, extremely stupid comments will be deleted, obviously, because I don't care. Goodbye. Block button's always been my best friend on any platform. But if you have any genuine questions, I don't mind satisfying people's curiosity personally. So let me know what you want to know, and we'll have a conversation about it.